Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraya. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, to Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesh Bhadreshu Nicham Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Vitamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Today's January 20th, 2022. And we're starting from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 1, entitled Questions by Vidura. And we're on text 14. Text 14, Chapter 1, Canto 3. Here we go. Iti Uchivan Tatra Suyodanena Pravita Kopa Spurita Adharena Asatkrita Sat Sprihaniya Shila Shata Sa Karna Anuja Sobalena Ityuchivam Statra Suyodanena Pravridha Kopas Purita Darena Asat Krita Sat Sprihaniya Shila Shata Sakarna Nuja Sobalena Ityuchivam Statra Suyodanena Pravridha Kopas Purita Darena Asad Krita Sat Sprihaniya Shila Shata Sakarna Nuja Sobalena Ityuchivam Statra Suyodanena Pravida Kopas Purita Darena Asad Krita Sat Sprihaniya Shila Shata Sakarna Nuja Sobalena
Ityuchivam Statra Suyodanena
Pravida Kopas Purita Darena
Asad Krita Sat Sprihaniya Shila Shata Sakarna
Nuja Sobalena
Ityuchivam Statra Suyodanena Varta Kopa Spurita Darena
Pravida Kopas Purita Darena
Asat Krita Sat Sprihaniya Shila
Asat Krita Sat Sprihaniya Shila
Sata Sakarna Nujo Sapalena
Kshata Sakarna Nuja Sobalena
Nichu Chivam Statra Suyodanena
Ityu Chivam Statra Suyodanena
Pravida Kopas Pulita Danena
Pravida Kopas Purita Darena
Asakita Satspiyani Ashila
Asat Krita Sat Sprihaniya Shila
Shata Sakarna Nujaso Valena
Kshata Sakarna Nuja Sobalena. Would someone online like to recite the verse?
Ichu chivam statra suyodhanena.
Yo Chivam Statra Suyodanena
Pravridha kopas puritad harena.
Pravida Kopas Purita Darena
Asat krita sat sprihaniya shila.
Asat Krita Sat Sprihaniya Shila
Shata sakarna nuja sobalena.
Shata Sakarna Nuja Sobalena. Okay, we'll go to the word for word. Iti,
Iti
thus,
Thus,
Uchivan,
Uchivam,
while speaking,
while speaking,
Tatra,
Tatra,
there,
there,
Suyodanena,
Suyodanena,
by Duryodhan,
Vajudan,
Pravida,
Pravita,
swollen with,
swollen with,
Kopa,
Kopa,
anger,
anger,
Spurita,
Surita,
flapping,
flapping,
Adarena,
Adarena,
lips,
lips,
Asatkrita,
Asakrita,
insulted,
insulted,
Sat,
Sat,
respectable,
respectable,
Sprihaniya Shila,
Priyaniya Shila,
desirable qualities,
desirable qualities,
Kshata,
Shakta,
Vidura,
Vidura,
Sa,
Sa,
with,
with,
Karna,
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 Anuja,
Anuja,
younger brothers,
younger brothers,
Sobalena,
Sobalena,
with Shakuni.
with Shakuni.
Translation. While speaking thus, Vidura, whose personal character was esteemed by respectable persons, was insulted by Duryodhan, who was swollen with anger and whose lips were trembling. Duryodhan was in company with Karna, his younger brothers, and his maternal uncle Shakuni. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It is said that giving good counsel to a foolish person causes the fool to become angry, just as feeding milk to a snake only increases its venomous poison. Saint Vidura was so honorable that his character was looked up to by all respectable persons, but Duryodhan was so foolish that he dared to insult Vidura. This was due to his bad association with Shakuni, his maternal uncle, as well as with his friend Karna, who always encouraged Duryodhan in his nefarious acts. Okay, so now I'll recite a few more mantras. These are the Mangala Charana mantras. Mangala means auspicious, to continue to invoke auspiciousness in our assembly. Om Gyanatimmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Upakadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kansana Garange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchikalpatayubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3 Chapter 1 Text 14 Ichuchivam Tatra Suyodanena Pravrida Kopas Purita Darena Asat Krita Sat Sprihaniya Shila Kshata Sakrana Nuja Sobalena. While speaking thus, Vidura, whose personal character was esteemed by respectable persons, was insulted by Duryodhana, who was swollen with anger and whose lips were trembling. Duryodhana was in company with Karna, his younger brothers, and his maternal uncle Shakuni. Okay. All right. So in the previous verse, and we discussed yesterday, Vidura is speaking to his half-brother, Dhritarashtra, and he's talking about Dhritarashtra's son, Duryodhana. He says, "You are maintaining offense personified, Duryodhana." Okay, so that's quite a name, offense personified, quite a way to describe something, very heavy. And so, yes, so, okay, so these are, in recent weeks, we've been reading these texts, and we've had some references from Mahabharata, and it's so, these different personalities. Vidura is referred to as saintly Vidura. Duryodhana is referred to as offense personified. And so we want to understand these personalities always, with reflection on okay, where in my life am I earnestly inspiring to be like saintly Vidura? And when we hear saintly Vidura, it doesn't mean like he was this kind of passive person or scared to speak. He's quite powerfully assertive, right? He's really caring enough about his brother Dhritarashtra, to be honest. Like, you're maintaining offense personified and you're being degraded by this association. And then as we'll read on, we hear that Duryodhana unceremoniously ejects Vidura from the palace. And Vidura, he's like, all right, I'll take this as an opportunity. I'll take this as an opportunity. I'll go on pilgrimage. Okay, I'll deepen my Krishna consciousness. I'll just deepen my devotion to bhakti, because it's a devotional heart, responding to everything. Tate kampam susmikshamanu bhujana evatma kritam vipakam vidvanva purbir vidadan namaste jivitayo mukti pade sadayava. That means that the devotional consciousness, a person with devotional consciousness, responds to everything in the material context, whether so-called good or bad from a material point of view, with just deeper inspiration to enhance my enthusiasm for bhakti, for self-realization, for serving Krishna with love and devotion. So Vidura, he got he was insulted and physically thrown out of the palace. Okay, all right. So I'll take this an opportunity to visit holy places. Great. And to what extent are we maintaining poisonous qualities like Duryodhana? Sure, we can look at externally these personalities, And we can look, okay, so how's this apply to me? You know, how's this apply to me? If we're paying attention and reading any of Prabhupada's books, then it should be like palpably purifying, uncomfortable in a growth inspiring way. And so, yeah, I mean, well, the Vaishnav poet sings, Hari Hari Bifale Janama Gunainu, Manushya Janama Pai Radha Krishna Na Bajia, Janya Sunya, Bisha Kainu. Bisha means poison. So the Vaishnava poet prays that I've had this great fortune to have a human birth, to take birth as a human. I have this great fortune, but I'm squandering it. I'm wasting it because I have not given my life to serve and honor and worship Sri Sri Radha Krishna, Radha Krishna Nambajia. So it is like I am deliberately, knowingly drinking poison, These very impactful analogies, right? So like to knowingly drink poison. So, well, as far as knowing, sometimes Srila Prabhupada describes there are 4 categories or classes of learners. And so let's call it a first class learner gets it, like not just learn the concept, but like gets it by hearing. Oftentimes Prabhupada emphasizes seeing is overrated. Right? He said, well, I'll believe it when I see it. Of course, subtle leading to gross, the spiritual principle means I'll see it when I believe it. It's clear intention. So the implication is that I'm a man of reason, not a man of faith. I only believe those things that I see. So that, of course, is complete nonsense. Right? So we say, like, have you ever seen electrons and protons or atoms? No. Do you believe that electrons, protons, and atoms exist? Well, of course. Well, but you said you only believe what you can see. Well, I've heard from my teachers. I've heard from scientists who I trust. Right? Like that. So, so do you believe in radio waves? Have you seen them? Well, I believe in them, but I haven't seen them because we've heard from people we trust. So seeing tends to be, so first class learner, we hear, we get it. And a basic example, like let's call it a material example, but this applies to spiritual knowledge, spiritual realization. Let's say first class would be, I hear and I get it. So I hear that if you steal, if you're a thief, it's just not going to be good. It's not going to be good. It'll really ruin your life, like that. So I get it. It's immoral. It's unethical. So I get it. I'm not going to steal. Second class learner doesn't get it by hearing, needs to see. Okay, I heard. I'm not so sure. But okay, there's someone, maybe a friend, maybe an associate, and he stole. And now he's being embarrassed. He's going to prison. He's, oh yeah, okay, I get it. I'm not going to steal. Third class learner hears, doesn't get it, sees, doesn't get it. And then it needs to have an experience. Well, I heard, I didn't get it. I saw what happened to my acquaintance there, but I'm smarter than him. So I'm going to steal and it'll be great. It'll be great. Yeah, so then I steal and then, okay, I end up in prison and people are disrespecting me and looking down and it's ruined my opportunities. Okay, I get it. I'm not going to steal. Fourth class learner continues to not get it after hearing, seeing, and having personal experience. fourth class learner in that metaphor, but it's not a metaphor, it's the real thing, might be like, all right, I'm in jail now because I stole after hearing sing. But now I've thought of new schemes. When I get out of prison for the 14th time, no, I have a more intelligent way. Okay, so it's a metaphor for material life. I can think of some material attachments where I get it and I've transcended them. But other things, it's described in the Bhagavatam. Tesham kramato nidanam pashyanapi na pashyati. So pashyan means to see. Like, even though we see, we don't see. We don't get it. So, it's a definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, over and over again, 10th time, 20th time, 1,000th time. So that's why Prabhupada will say again and again, we're not this body, we're eternal spirit soul. You can say, well, why doesn't he just say it once? Why is he saying it for 100,000 times? Because we see, but we're not getting it. Okay, so that's like knowingly, Janya Sunya Bisha kind of knowingly drinking poison. Yeah, and then so then Prabhupada's stressing here, and Vidura's stressing, because saying Duryodhana was in company with Karna's younger brothers and his maternal uncle Shakuni, and Prabhupada stresses about association. Okay, so this is such an important cornerstone for life, not just spiritual life, right? We're influenced by those with whom we're associating. Okay. Yeah. And so we're encouraged to make self-realization, spiritual life, realizing who I am, the spirit, soul, the distinction between spirit and matter, soul and body, developing love for God as the active principle of our life. We're encouraged to be intelligent and make that our goal. That's higher intelligence. And there's no force. Once there's force, there's no love. Krishna speaks the entire Bhagavad Gita, and right at the end, he says to Arjuna, Yate chasita taku. He speaks the whole Bhagavad Gita about what is karma, what is the self, what is the supreme self, what is the nature of the material energy, what's the nature of time. He speaks the whole Bhagavad Gita, and then he says, now do as you, now consider carefully what I have said, and now do it. Now do what you wish to do. No force. That's love, freedom. And so, of course, Krishna's wanting Arjuna to choose wisely, but no force. Yeah, so in a sense, this bhakti yoga, it's not essentially about peace. Peace is a byproduct. It's really about developing love, and love means two. Right? Like conceptions of the absolute that are sort of stop at the conception of undifferentiated oneness, which can produce a sort of relief that comes from liberation from material miseries. But really, there's no love in such conception. Love means a voluntary exchange of affection and service between two conscious entities. So love means two. So this is about cultivating, reawakening our original loving service relationship with Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And with that as the active principle of our life, then naturally all our relationships in every realm are naturally imbued with joy, bliss, love, and true spiritual association by knowing how to water the root of the tree. We water the root, all the twigs, leaves, branches are naturally nourished. So this association is described, Rupa Goswami describes exchange of love between persons sincere about self-realization. Adati pratigrinati guyamakiti prichati bhukte bojayate chaiva sadbir sadbir bhakti lakshmi. Yes. So he's talking about creating a space in relationship that's conducive for sharing the mind and heart confidentially. In terminology we sometimes use, devoid of roadblocks, but not just to cultivate a set of communication skills, rather a communication-based approach to self-realization, communication-based approach that supports us to deepen our enthusiasm to hear Bhagavatam. I was in my room, and Bhakti Nico, you're there with your friend Bhakti Nathan, and I know it sounded like it sounded like the two of you kind of bumped into each other, and you said Hare Krishna, and then you kind of spontaneously erupted into a Hare Krishna Kirtan. You did. I was there. I was here. I wasn't sleeping. So there was Nathan and Nico spontaneously. So I thought, this sounds like a quality friendship to me. just by bumping into each other. There's chanting the names of Krishna. Sounds like quality friendship to me. So Adao Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangato Bhajana Kriya Tatonarta Nivrittisha Tatonishta Jistata. That describes this process, self-realization, Krishna consciousness. It starts with having enough trust to associate, with those who are sincere on this path of bhakti yoga, of Krishna consciousness. And yeah, we're not speaking for myself, I'm more affected than I like to be by association. So that's why I like to be conscious, to create. It's not about putting up walls. It is about being conscious and being clear on the goal. Being conscious to create association that's going to support me to deepen my enthusiasm for that which really matters in life, for the higher values of life. And so that's like, there's a science of how to associate with whom. It's not about judgmentalism. It's like I know it's not my role to try to make a judgment about what's in someone's heart. Right? It's not my role to try to make a judgment about what's in someone's heart in terms of their relationship with self, with God, with Srila Prabhupada. It is my responsibility, based on what I perceive and based on my understanding of these sublime teachings, to use intelligent discretion in regards to how to associate. Like, there could be someone outside who appears to be drunk on the street, and he's creating a whole violent scene. So it's not for me to say what's in his heart. It is for me to go, well, okay, probably it's best to keep my distance. It's not my service to get so close. Even amongst association of those who are endeavoring for self-realization and endeavoring for service to Krishna. Often Prabhupada, he emphasized, associate with like-minded devotees. He used that word a lot, like-minded. So what's that mean? It means there are some devotees, there's some groups of devotees. Prabhupada expressed very clearly, respect them from a distance. Okay, so that requires it's a science. It's a science that, to whatever extent we want to give ourselves, this Prabhupada used that term, science of self-realization, science of our relationship with eating, our relationship with working, our relationship with Lakshmi Devi, money, our relationship with friendship, our relation. And to the extent that we give ourselves to the science, then we experience the results. We experience the results of this experiment. This experiment. And so it's not about like rules and regulations to feel oppressed. It's about like kind of the implicit assumption is, okay, if this is your goal, then here's guidelines to follow. Here's some things to like stay away from. It's not about, essentially, it's not about good, bad, right, wrong. Examples we often use, like we say, here we are at Mother Malini's ashram in Alachua, Florida. So let's say you say, you asked me, can you give me directions to the Hippodrome in Gainesville? So you want to get to the Hippodrome. Okay. So go to 441, then you should make a left. So you could say, are you telling me what I should do? You tell me what I have to do? Are you like the boss of my life? I'm not, look, you said your goal is to get to the Hippodrome. So yeah, if you want to get to the Hippodrome in like the most efficient way, make a left on 441. If you want, you could go right. You could go to I-70. You could go through San Francisco to get to the Hippodrome. You could. You could. Okay. So, but you said that that's your goal. So then, yeah, then do this, and you drive on the right side, because it's not England. If you drive on the left side, that won't get you there. It'll get you in prison or hospital or morgue or something. Okay. So then, like with compassion, it's not like there's no one like, you have to do this. With the captain, like we're encouraged, make this your goal. Do as you wish to do. And Sri Krishna and Vidura and Prabhupada, they're encouraging us to make this the goal of human form of life. Take a stand. Take a stand. Yes, I'm practicing this science of self-realization called Bhakti Yoga. Endeavoring to follow Srila Prabhupada and serve his movement. This is take it 2 days ago or so. I was sharing with you aspects of my life. And so like I was first introduced to this process of Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness. As I mentioned on Sunday, like I don't identify as like I am a Hare Krishna. It's not about I am a this, I was a this, now I'm a that. But I was never interested in like joining anything, what to speak of a religion. But like this is like I'm interested in like, and just like the Safito seminars or coaching or coach training, it's a process of self-realization. It's a process of self-realization. And so I am interested in a process of self-realization that experientially is effective. And I've been interested in that before I got introduced to Prabhupada's books. So Prabhupada's giving us completely authorized ancient eternal process of a science of self-realization. Science means there's a vast body of knowledge and there's a process we can follow to follow the logical hypotheses, the assertions of the Vedas. So, so following this process, and So I shared for like 3 years in State College, Pennsylvania, University Park. I took prashad like that, and I was beginning to read Prabhupada's books. I was hearing some lectures from Stamba Das Prabhu for like 3 years. It was back when I was like 19, 20, 21 years old. And I was affected internally like that. But I had too much false ego built up in Pennsylvania, State College, Philadelphia, family, friends, to admit that internally I was beginning to regard this seriously. So be like, oh yeah, we go to Hare Krishna, it's great food, like that. Oh no, nothing to take seriously. Of course not. No. So in a sense, I was not being authentic. I was not being authentic because I had too much attachment to what would people think and stuff like that. And then it was actually my first day outside of the United States, somewhere around May, maybe June 1983. Got off in, I think it was Heathrow Airport in London, and I was just like observing myself, and it happened to be a Sunday, so I made my way to the Soho Street Hare Krishna Temple in London. And then I stayed at a youth hostel that night, and the next morning I took a train out to Lechmore Heath, which is where Bhaktivedanta Manor is. And I stayed overnight at Bhaktivedanta Manor, and the next morning, I remember I talked to Rohini Nandan Prabhu, and yeah, I still have that. That's my favorite verse book, and that was my first Mangal Arti at Bhaktivedanta Manor. And okay, so then we continue on travel, and I'd be in like Paris. Okay, just some kid from Philadelphia, first day in Paris, and Paris, Amsterdam, Oslo, Stockholm, Vienna, wherever I would go, I would set myself up in a youth hostel. Then I had my japa beads, and I'd never chanted before I came out. I would be just chanting Hare Krishna, walking around the city looking for Govinda's restaurant. And but then I could see like, wow, this is what I'm really attracted to. This is what I'm really attracted to, like that. Even actually, yesterday I had an exchange with someone because during the beginning of that summer of '83, I went to the Glastonbury Festival, summer of '83.
You could be attracted to so many things there.
Yeah, right. It's all there. It's all there. It's an annual. I don't know if they still probably do. It started maybe in the '60s, '70s, and in those days hippie festival, jazz, rock and roll, like that. So I went to the Glastonbury Festival.
Wow.
I heard about that. Okay, I remember I hitchhiked to the Glastonbury Festival from Ireland actually. So I got to Glastonbury, so it was like 3 or 4 day intensive, outdoor. It was a cool place. I just spent the whole 4 days at the Hare Krishna tent. And I was like, but there were some of my favorite bands there, and there was this, and there was someone named a black-skinned devotee named Keshi Shatru, and he was amazing kirtan, and he was they had theater and unlimited endless prashadam, and so I just like, and I was oh yeah, I'll stay here another 15 minutes. I just spent like the 4 days there, like that. So but I was looking at myself like wherever I went, whatever, I was in Rome and like that. I was just attracted. So then I began to have like more strength, more courage to take a stand. I really like this. I really like this, to take a stand. Yes,
Some honesty.
What's that?
Some honesty.
Some honesty, yeah, for myself, right? And then, of course, the story goes on a bit. Next year, I moved into an ashram outside of Tel Aviv in Ra'anana. We have a attendee here, Ramachandra, right now in the north section of Haaretz Yisrael. So yeah, and then when I visited Philadelphia, I got kidnapped, and anyway, so it all supported me to take a stand. To take 3 days ago was it the birthday of Martin Luther King. A quote I heard attributed to him was, if you have nothing to die for, you have nothing to live for.
Mm.
Okay, so it's about taking a stand. And so, yeah. So there's a text in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Tasmat Sankirtanam Vishnur Jagan Mangalam Amhasam Matam Apikoravya Dijakantika Niskrita. So Shukadev Goswami explains, he shares with Maharaj Parikshit, he shares that this Sankirtan movement is the most auspicious activity in the universe, because it uproots the desire, it uproots at the very seed, the very root, the desire for material desires. Other processes might kind of clip at the leaves of the weeds, but this uproots. So therefore, this is the most auspicious activity in the whole universe. And then he says to Maharaj Parikshit, he says, really try to understand this so others will take it seriously. Mm-hmm. So for me, that relates to taking a stand. That, like, because, if I'm kind of like, well, it's kind of like this, but then like taking a stand. No, I practice. I mean, I wish I would practice more sincerely. I practice this process of bhakti yoga. I'm dedicating my life to follow Srila Prabhupada. Okay, and it's like it's like not so cool to take a stand, but like, no, I take a stand for this. And then some might ridicule us, some might violently kidnap us, some might criticize, might think we're fools. And that's described here. It is said that giving good counsel to a foolish person causes the fool to become angry, just as feeding milk to a snake only increases its venomous poison. And at the same time, just like association there in State College, Pennsylvania. So there was like Stambadas and a relatively small bhakti yoga centers. Like, these people are taking a stand. Now, not that others weren't taking, but they're taking a stand. Well, what are they taking a stand for? And then after studying Prabhupada's books, taking enough prasadam to have some purification. It's like, this actually makes sense. This is like by far the most consistent, rigorous, logical, rational philosophy, and it gives us a lifestyle that's the purest lifestyle I know. So inside is like, so why not try it? Okay. And it took me a few years to admit, like, that's really what's going on. Because I know other people are taking stands for things, but their philosophy wasn't satisfying for my intellect, or their lifestyle to me looked somewhat, maybe hypocritical, or just not, it didn't seem very, very pure. So you had the purity, the logic, the rationality, the lifestyle, the qualities, right? So naturally, we want to serve, we want to contribute, we want to help people. And so Shukadev Goswami is saying, he's saying to Maharaj Parikshit, like, you're an influential personality. Really try to understand this so that others will take it serious. So we take a stand, and then by our association, others from wherever they're at come towards this most sublime and auspicious process. I'm going to pause there. I'll read the text again. Text 14, chapter 1, canto 3. Ityuchivam tatra suyodanena pravida kopas purita darena asakrita sat sprihaniya shilakshata sakarna nujaso balena. While speaking thus, Vidura, whose personal character was esteemed by respectable persons, was insulted by Duryodhana, who was swollen with anger and whose lips were trembling. Duryodhana was in company with Karna, his younger brothers, and his maternal uncle, Shakuni. Hare Krishna, thanks for your attention. I welcome at this time any comments or questions. Volume count.
I can share something.
Yeah, Bhaktanika.
Thank you, Dhira Govinda, for a wonderful class. Thank you, Mother Melanie, for hosting. Appreciate it. Two things that I'm really taking from this class that I remember most is, again, the importance of association with like-minded devotees, and then the idea of taking a stand.
Yeah.
And really, like, what I see is like, it's like the blind leading the blind in our culture.
Okay.
And it's really, it's just like giving me this deeper sense of gratitude for association with this community and association with people who are really taking a stand to go in the opposite direction, to live a spiritual based life. So it's really giving me a deeper gratitude and love for people who are sincere in their approach to developing love of God. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Nika. Thanks for absorbing, noting what you're noting. Thank you. Yeah, you use that metaphor, the blind leading the blind. That's a Bhagavatam verse. And mana. Yeah, material society. It's like the blind leading the blind. And follow me, like that, and we just take each other and we fall into a ditch. We take each other and we fall into a ditch, and that, yeah. So there's it's humorous there, and at the same time, it's because actually, if we're yesterday during PPTC was the 36th of 36 PPTC class, so it was the closing module, and it got very deep, philosophical, and wonderful questions and exchanges. And one of the participants, because she's, they're developing their coaching practices now. One of the participants asked, like, well, what about like, the client's energy and us being energetically affected? And so, so I got to share that it's true. Like if someone comes to us for coaching, and if we're doing it, if we're conducting the coaching as service to God, then it's karma free. But if we got our ego stuff in, if we got like, I'm doing it to be adored, for profit, it doesn't mean we won't ask a fee, but what's our motive? What's our consciousness? If we're doing it from some material ego motivation, then we're going to take their karma. We're going to take their energy, especially the tamas and rajas part of it. It gets clogged in us. We're not a transparent by medium, meaning that it's like if in the name of teaching, coaching, whatever, if we're not really like equipped, qualified, or at least on the path to support them in a process of liberation, then it's like come with me. It's like it's the blind lead. It's cheating in the name of teaching. It's cheating in the name of teaching. Yeah. Yes. It's cheating in the name of teaching. So I hear your gratitude, Bhakti Nico. We have Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada. So we have a doubtless and true, the doubtless and fearless path for a genuine spiritual life. Yes, and and then the taking a stand. Yeah, taking a stand. So just we see, Prabhupada took a stand. So here we are in Lakeshore, Florida, discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. It's described in the Bhagavatam. Again, another darkness analogy. Krishna sva damo pagate dharmagana divisaha. Kala esha drisham nisham pornoko dunodita. That the Kali Yuga, this age, is compared to darkness, and says that upon the disappearance of Lord Krishna, the Bhagavatam will be is the light to give guidance, is the light to give guidance for people who are lost and bewildered in this age. So yeah, so we get to joyfully accept some of Srila Prabhupada's burdens, some of the burden of Bhaktisiddhanta Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Krishna himself. They get to accept their burden to share this so that others begin to take it seriously. Thanks for sharing.
I have a question I could ask, but it's not related to what you've shared, so I want to give space if there's something else.
I didn't see any hands up, so you can go for it.
So it's, I mean, I guess I could tie it to what you and Nika were just sharing about, like, in the name of teaching, or possibly in the name of spirituality, or concocted spirituality, or even New Age. So there's the law of attraction. That's like a big thing in like the New Age movement, and like with so many things that we talk about in the New Age movement, like there's truth there. It's not like just completely false. Maybe it's incomplete or what have you.
It's attractive because there's truth there.
Right. And so I wonder, sometimes you talk about we get what we desire, like the culmination of desire and deserve.
Yeah.
And is the law of attraction like the desire part? Like, I know whenever I first got into spirituality, what I would now call like New Age things, like I would practice that, like, okay, I'm gonna attract something in particular, and like it would happen, like I would attract these things.
It works.
Right, it works. Is that the desire part? And then karma is the deserve part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice distinction there. My understanding is consistent with what you just expressed. Yeah, that's it. It's just like, as you said, it's like there's seeds of truth, but it's like partial, like philosophy. So so there's the karma, and karma can be destroyed. We can transcend our karma. At the same time, there's a science to do it. So just like, let's call it the New Age, the secret, the power of intention. There's truth there. There's truth there. At the same time, it's lacking a whole lot of philosophy. Like who is it that's desiring? Who is it that's desiring? Okay, so let's say I'm in a particular body now. Okay, so and that's right. Like, so I was first exposed to that in the late 1970s. I took seminars in the human potential movement, and I really was attracted to this stance of 100% personal responsibility according to my intention. I was attracted to that. And then when I started reading Prabhupada's books, then I saw, okay, so this provides a complete philosophical system to understand the mechanisms here. Okay, so it's like, yeah, so according to our intention, okay, right. So then how come one person born in this terrible situation? How's that living entity in a dog's body? And that living entity is born terribly handicapped. That living entity is born too affluent. Okay, so then pretty much in the New Age conceptions, you don't get I don't get explanations for that. I don't get but I saw, okay, right, yeah. So according to our intention, we got a particular body. So this whole intention thing, it started before this birth. So we're just getting the completion. That's why I say, like, all these principles from New Age philosophy, personal growth, transformation, leadership, communication skills, we don't need to reject them. And it's not even showing like how they can be used in Krishna consciousness, but illustrating, demonstrating, realize how like everything that's truly valid and truly useful and sublime there finds its origin, completion, and perfection in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Bhagavad Gita. So in those circles, we don't hear much of, I haven't heard much about, you get the clear intention part, but then, what is the law of karma? How does that work? Because here's the thing, as long as we maintain any material attachment, because if we direct our intention to something that's just related, enmeshed in the modes of nature, All right, then we're gonna continue. We're gonna continue in this samsara dava nala lida loka, to take birth in the blazing fire of material existence. So, all right, so here we get like guidance, how to direct our power of intention in a way where we truly achieve our eternal bliss.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhaktazi. Anything else? Any other questions, realizations, comments? Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.